بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. I praise Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. I ask Allah to send countless blessings and salutations on our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his pure, noble family, his honorable and righteous companions, and all those who follow them in excellence until the day of judgment. I remind myself and I remind you all with having the sincere intention that we are here on this platform seeking closeness to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, at-taqarrub ila Allah, seeking to draw closer to Allah in status, seeking the thawab, the reward from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, seeking the ridwan of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, the pleasure of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, and seeking Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And we must constantly remind ourselves of this. Our deeds, as the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, as Imam al-Bukhari started the most authentic book after the book of Allah, Sahih al-Bukhari, he started it with the hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَىٰ. Is the sound clear? Now I'm having the sound problem again. Allah. Muffled. Okay. How about now? Is the sound clear? Sound problems. I got to figure out what's going on here. Allah. Is the sound clear now? Voice clear? Bismillah, is the voice clear? I'm sorry, we have a little patience. I'm trying to figure out what is the thing that's causing it to be. All right, the voice is clear now. Okay, Tayyip. Now I got to start all over again. One of my teachers, to share you a joke. Alhamdulillah, one of the things, I'll start over again, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma alamna ma yanfa'una wanfa'na bima alamtana wa zidna ilma. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. I thank Allah, I praise Allah, and I ask Allah to raise the rank and the status and to send countless blessings and salutations on our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his pure and honorable family and his noble companions, and all those who follow them with excellence until the day of judgment. I remind myself and I remind you with having the sincere intention. So as we come to the session, we should correct our intention. And we should intend, among the noble intentions that we should intend, is to have at-taqarrub ila-Allah, to draw close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in status. To seek the thawab, the reward from Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. To seek the ridwan of Allah, the pleasure of Allah. And to seek Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. As Sayyidina Imam al-Bukhari mentioned in his book Sahih al-Bukhari, the first hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى. That verily the deeds are by the intentions, and everyone will get what he intended. So let us intend well. Let us intend that which would make our session, our gathering on this platform, a proof for us, not a proof against us. And I should say at the outset that even though in these sessions, sometimes I may be enthusiastic, quite firm in a position, and sometimes some may take it as offensive. Some things I may say, some people may take it offensive, and you have that right. I have no problem with that. But you should know that I intend only good. And people speak from their experience. You should keep that in mind. People speak from their experience. I am a person who has a lot of experiences in Islam. A lot. And my experiences shape my character, like everyone else. And at my age now, I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes I get pissed off. And everyone who speaks in the American context know exactly what I mean. I look back over the history of Islam in America, and one of the fortunate things that I had, that I got in contact with Islam when I was a kid. So a lot of the people who are considered elders in Islam that are famous, they came into Islam around the same time as me. Maybe few, 3 or 4 or 5 years before me. That's it. So I grew up in Islam with them. I learned Islam at the same time, at the same pace with them. So even though I'm still young, in my experience, I'm like an elder in the Black community. Why do I say that? Because that means I've seen a lot. Not only I've seen a lot in the American context, I actually traveled overseas when I was a young kid, and I seen a lot overseas. So I got a lot of experience. And when you combine that experience and you continue to learn, and I never stop learning, every single day my life is engaged in acquiring and learning more about this religion. There is no day, anyone who knows me, every day, every time you see me, I have a book. And I suggest you do the same thing. Every day, you should increase yourself in knowledge. As Allah said in the Quran, وَقُلْ رَبِّي زِدْنِي عِلْمًا, and say, oh my Lord, increase me in knowledge. I mention this so you can understand me. I'm only talking about myself so that you would understand why I'm the way I am. So you don't get out of context when you listen to me. Because sometimes if you don't understand a person, you don't know what they're talking about, and you come in at halftime, you don't know what happened the first half of the game, and you think it's certain ways because you came in at halftime. So you don't understand the context, or you don't understand why the game is the way it is. So I'm giving you some background so that you will kind of put in context the way I talk, the way I feel, the way I speak. And then maybe it will help you not be offended because you understand. And I'm saying this because I'm not going to alter my speech. I'm not going to tone it down. I'm not going to compromise. I'm not going to try to make somebody feel better. I'm not doing that. So you need to understand me because you're going to get it, as we say, raw, uncut. I'm not going to water it down for you, and I'm not putting no cream in the coffee. It's going to be black coffee like my shake drinks. And that's not so great. So, but anyway, he says it's real coffee. SubhanAllah. So I've seen a lot overseas. So for me, I have this thing in my mind, especially for my people, Black Americans, African Americans, descendants of ex-slaves from Africa. When I look at the whole Islamic context, the words of Malcolm X, Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, ring in my mind. You've been hoodwinked, you've been bamboozled, run amok, you know that favorite line. That stuff just goes around and round and round in my mind. And I'm looking back from 1965, here we are, 2020, 55 years later, and we still having the same thing happen. That stuff makes me angry. I'm gonna be honest. And what's worse, at least in that time, there was an abundance of knowledge and availability among the Black community. We were just learning about Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. We had some things we had to learn, so you quite understand it. But now when you look at it today, 55 years later, you like, wow, we back at square one with some information. And that is because there was a lot of things that happened from foreign entities that I believe, this is just my belief, I could be wrong, but this is what I see from my experience, was a conspiracy towards our people for someone else's political gain and status. So when I talk about Al-Wahhabiyya, when I talk about the Wahhabis, I know there are people who hold the creed of the Wahhabis. I understand that. And I understand why you hold that creed. But I know that that has been the #1 movement to suppress and cheat and deceive and mislead and misguide and bamboozle and help lead us to a further state of oppression, subjugation, and inequality. When we as Black people fell for that Wahhabi doctrine, we set ourselves back 100 years. That's deep. Now, for me, we came out of movements. Some black people in the early 1900s were following the Moore Science Temple. We develop, we learn, we understand the mistakes. Though we say our brother Drew Ali, he had good intentions and he wanted to do good for his people. I don't doubt that. He was working what he had to work with, but it wasn't the correct understanding of Islam. Then we came through the Nation of Islam under, and I think about something. I'm going to say this because I want to share something with you, and some people might not agree with me, but I really don't care. Because one of the things that was put on us is to hate ourselves and anything we do good to criticize if it ain't perfect. But that same thing don't apply for everyone else. So when I think of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'm going to say honorable for a reason. I'm going to explain it. I'm not talking about his understanding of Islam, because my question is, and if you be honest, if you know Islam, it is no way in the world that Elijah Muhammad could have known all the things that we know. Remember, with everybody running their conspiracies on the black people, with others running their conspiracies and they're pushing their agendas on black people. That young man from Georgia, a poor man from a Negro Christian background, ain't no way in the world he gonna discover real Islam. Knock it off. That's impossible. He don't know Arabic. He got people lying to him. How is he gonna understand that? Now, since that's the case, the honorable thing he did was he tried to remove black people from oppression the best way he could, and that's honorable. Am I talking about his doctrine? No. Because if I apply that to everybody, if we apply that same rule we put on him, if we apply that same rule to everybody today, then we're going to call you not honorable either. We're going to just call you by your name and no respect. Because it's going to apply. Because just like he was, unfortunately, we're talking about more than 90 years later, you're still in the state, and I would say worse. Why? Because at least 90 years ago in the 1930s, when he started to learn from Fard Muhammad, he had a million excuses why he could have been misguided, especially that Fard Muhammad wasn't teaching him real Islam. Even if Fard Muhammad knew it, he wasn't giving it to the black man. He was giving him something else. So that was 90 years ago when he started on his mission. Here you are 90 years later, and you still following a misguided understanding of Islam that's not made available to you. The same thing that happened to him is happening to you today. Somebody's giving you a false doctrine of Islam for their political agenda, for their cultural agenda. You got it. You're a puppet of an Arab country. You're a puppet of Pakistanis. You're a puppet of those others. Same like he was trying to get Islam from someone else. And yet alone, you speak Arabic, you learned Arabic, and you still misguided. So knock that stuff off with the black, pulling each other down. I'm not with it. We got to change this. Since we having Black Lives Matter, this is my new push, and I want you to all share it. Give me 1 second, because we need it. I would like everyone, especially those of you who understand what I'm talking about, I want you to, for us, this is just for us. And others can share it, but you want a hashtag, this is the hashtag we need to start sharing. And I put it up there. Oops, excuse me, my mistake. Let me fix that. That's a mistake. Erase that. See, can't do both. Can't walk and chew bubble gum. Sorry. I'll do it again. That's a new hashtag for us right there. Black Muslims matter. That's a hashtag for us in Islam. And we need to spread that so that everybody stop undermining us as a people. I'll put it again. And that's on. Now I don't need my glasses. I just can't type and do all this stuff. I'm an older guy, Muti, not a young kid. That's their skill set. I don't got it. How you pin the comment? Wait a minute. See, I'm learning new stuff. That says pin the comment. So that should be something we concerned ourselves with. Black Muslims matter. I want all y'all to do me a favor. Copy that and post it quickly in your thing. I want everyone who understand what I'm saying to copy that statement, that tag, Black Muslims matter, and post it back from each one of you, inshallah. Because the same thing that happened to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and every other Noble Drew Ali and every other black man who tried to save our people, who tried to educate our people, the same thing that happened to them is still happening to us. But the only thing, sometimes we get so arrogant that we don't want to admit the truth, even though it's staring us in the face. And this is not a racist call. It's a reality call. Not racism, reality. And then when we start as Muslims dealing with reality, and I'm going to help you understand why to say Blacks, Muslims matter. Why we need to say that? Because the only way the white man in America, these people who run this system of white supremacy, got the message and is getting the message, they still don't got the message, they're really not listening, is that all over the place, Black Lives Matter is being pushed down their throat, so they gotta listen. Likewise, the only way the immigrant Muslim community around the world is going to listen and care about Black Muslims is that we shove down their throat, Black Muslims matter. And we put that, as they put it, on the road to the White House, we put that on the road to Mecca and Medina. Black Muslims matter. Because Black Muslims around the world, we talking about African Americans in America, but Black Muslims around the world are suffering and nobody cares. And there's a bunch of money available, a bunch of resources available, but it ain't given to them unless they get down with the program and sell themselves out and leave their culture. Then we'll give them a bone. We'll build a mosque and put our Imam over top of them. We'll build them a nice, beautiful masjid, but they're going to follow our program and they're going to have our Imam and they're going to do what we say. We're not going to help them to empower them to be free, to be human. They're going to be in servant status no matter what. Black Muslims matter. And we got to keep that idea up. That's one thing. And why am I saying that? Why am I saying that? Because if we, as Black Muslims, if we don't seize this moment, we are foolish. We all know what we're suffering and what we feel. We all know it. Any of us, anyone on this thing, anyone listening can have this conversation. You may not articulate it as well because you may not know all the details, but don't tell me you don't feel it. I know you know what I'm talking about. When you go somewhere else, you are treated like a second-class citizen or less. You know what I'm talking about. Trust me. Even though everywhere I go, Imam Amin, Sheikh Amin, I still get the same feeling. Just, they got to give me a little bit more respect because they know Islamically I might butcher them. But I'm going to still get the same feeling. I'm going to just be on the stage with the feeling. And you're going to be in the back of the room with the feeling, but we're going to have the same feeling. We're going to know it. It's going to be obvious. Don't think because I'm on the stage or I'm up top or I'm on the minbar that I don't feel that stuff. I do. And so do every other black man. And even in our biggest institutions, in the American context, we, with all due respect, and I love Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. I love him as a Muslim brother, as a defender of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. I love him. But that stuff you heard at RIS, that wasn't the first time black men felt like that. Black people in his institution feel like that. If they be honest, black people who work under Zaytuna feel that. They feel it. They feel that I can't be really a free black man. I'm treated as a second-class citizen. They may stand up, they may object, but they know that feeling. And it's a subconscious thing from white supremacy. It just happens. They might not even mean it all the time. It's just, I'm white and that's the way it go. That's real. With all the knowledge, with all the shits, with all the experiences, if we have real talk and we stop bullcrapping each other and we be honest, we know the feeling. We know the feeling. It ain't like, but we need to change it now. It ain't no longer just sit back and say, okay, that's just the way it is. No longer will that be the way it is. Because I'm telling you, I'll leave it open. I'm telling you, if you want to help your black leadership, you want to help your black scholars, make them independent. So long as they have to work for someone else for a check, they by necessity going to compromise some of their principles. They're going to eat some crap. Yes, that's the way it go until you empower them, right? This is real. We got to you know how they say real talk? We got to have real talk. And if we be honest, we got to be honest. This is our chance to get some freedom. This is our chance to change the playing field. We can't hold back. We can't try to soothe someone's conscience. Heck no, change your behavior. That's it. So I want you to understand me, please. So, because I'm going to talk. I'm just giving that. I'm not apologizing for anything. I'm just clarifying so you can follow. Because the way I talk, sometimes people who they can't handle it. And they run. I don't want you to run. I want you to listen so we can change the condition. Tell you, with that said, I think y'all follow me. And anyone who disagrees, we can have that discussion. Someone say, I don't agree with you. I think you over-exaggerating, or you exaggerating, excuse me. Okay, we can have that discussion. I'm not going to run from that discussion because I got evidence from here. I got 40 years of evidence to prove what I'm saying. So you want Dalil, I got Dalil over and over and over and over again. And you know what I'm talking about. I don't have to say it. You know. And if you don't act like you know, you lying to yourself. You like that person who lived in the suburbs and grew up around white folks and talking about, I don't know what racism is. You crazy. Ain't no way in the way it ain't no way you don't know what racism is, especially if you grew up around white folks all the time and you just got so-called accepted. You felt it. You just ignored it. And you just act like, oh, it's not like that. But you felt it. You and those late nights in your room, you know what I'm talking about. And so do every black Muslim who experienced this stuff knows exactly what I'm talking about. So you just fooling yourself if that's what you're saying. Because the reality is totally opposite of what you think. With that said, let me move on to where we was at yesterday. And I'm going to talk about the things I said I was going to talk about, the Islamic sciences, all, but I realize we on two fronts. I can't just talk to you about religion without talking about the reality that you live in and how religion fits in that context. So I can talk to you about Islamic science, Al-Quran, Ahadith, Aqidah, Fiqh, Usul al-Fiqh, Hadith, Usul al-Hadith, Sirah, Tafsir, Arabic language. We can talk about all this stuff, logic and all these Islamic sciences. But if we don't talk about how that stuff fits into our reality, it's just rhetoric. It ain't gonna mean nothing. We got to understand our reality and how Islam plays a part in changing our reality for the better. So I got to do both. So I need you to be patient. And I need to share a statement. Mujahid, the son of Abdullah ibn Abbas, his name is Mujahid, the son of the student of Abdullah ibn Abbas. Mujahid, the main student of Abdullah ibn Abbas, radiallahu ta'ala anhuma. Mujahid, it is related about him, and he was among the tabi'een, the followers of the Sahaba. So he's from the Salaf. He was among the most knowledgeable of them of the explanation of the Quran. And he got all of the explanation of the Quran from Abdullah ibn Abbas. And Abdullah ibn Abbas was among the most knowledgeable among the companions about the Quran. He was called the interpreter of the Quran. Mujahid said, as it was related from him, that this knowledge is not given to the shy person or the arrogant person. I want you to write that statement. This knowledge, meaning the knowledge of Islam, is not given to the shy person or the arrogant person. Very important statement. And why? In explaining that, our teachers mention that it's not given to the shy person because the shy person will be afraid or intimidated to ask when they don't know. So they may not know something, but they'll just remain silent and they're going to never learn because no one knows that they don't know. So the shyness is going to prevent them from acquiring the knowledge of the religion. So don't be shy, right? And Aisha, radiallahu ta'ala anha, she talked about the women of the Ansar. The women of the Ansar. Those people were in Medina. She said, excellent are the women of the Ansar. These are noble women. They're good women. They didn't let shyness prevent them from getting understanding of the religion. They would come to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and ask questions that a woman normally would be shy about the religion. Like one of them, she came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it was in a public setting. She says, verily Allah is not shy from the truth. If a woman has a wet dream, does she have to take a ghusl? In front of people, to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Aisha praised them for that quality, that they didn't let shyness prevent them from learning the religion. So for us, don't be shy when it comes to acquiring knowledge. I ain't saying be rude, but don't be shy. Seek the knowledge with great aspiration, with high aspiration. And the other person is the arrogant one. The arrogant person thinks they know everything and they don't want to listen. So they don't want nobody to tell them something because they think they know everything. Or they got too much pride to admit that they don't know. So they won't learn. So don't be arrogant. And many of the people, and I know this in my area, they don't learn, they won't fix themselves out of arrogance. Man, I'm on the hawk, I'm on the truth, I'm on the minhaj, and don't know diddly squat. And won't listen. And won't say, you know what? I know this person or these people, they got stuff that I don't got. Let me go sit and learn. I'll give you a story. And this should show you arrogance. A real story. This is arrogance. You got groups And I told you, I don't make no bones about it. And it ain't fanaticism, and I'm not being sectarian. I'm being Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. My belief, my practice, my spirituality, and that of the whole ummah, as the majority of the ummah, I am Ash'ari in Aqidah. I follow the school of the great Imam Abul Hassan al-Ash'ari, who died in the year 324 after Hijrah. That's my methodology in belief. I'm Ash'ari. I'm not going to apologize for that. The majority of the Muslim nation, from the time of the death of Imam al-Ash'ari, from his time, all the way to today, the majority of the Muslims are Ash'ari. And others are Maturidi, and those two schools are known as the schools of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah and Aqidah. That doesn't mean there's not, and everyone else is not Muslim. No one's saying that. We're saying the methodology that has been followed by the majority of the Muslims is the school of Ash'ari and the school of Al-Maturidi. And we'll have a long discussion about that later. I'm Ash'ari. So anyone wants to know, yes, he's an Ash'ari. Absolutely. 100%. No hiding it. In fiqh, I follow the school of Imam Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, who died in the year 204 after Hijrah. That is my methodology in fiqh. I'm Shafi'i. As well as we accept al-Sunnah, all the four major relied upon schools, the Hanafi school, the Maliki school, the Shafi'i school, the Hanbali school. But me particularly, I am Shafi'i. And I follow the path of Tasawwuf, which is, our great scholar says, the path of the great Imam Junaid al-Baghdadi, who died in the 3rd century Hijrah. And all of the Turuk, all of Turuk al-Sufiya, all the Sufi paths, they have their routes back to Sayyiduna Junaid al-Baghdadi. Right? No matter which tariqah you follow, ultimately, when you get up to the time of the Salaf, and Imam Junaid was from the Salaf, he was called Ra'isul Qawm, the head of all the Sufis. So everyone has a sanad, a chain, back to Imam Junaid. That is our path. That is the way of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, as the scholars, the majority of the scholars of this ummah, past and present, they were upon this. There is no doubt about that. And all three of those methodologies, in Aqidah, in fiqh, and in Tasawwuf, have been accepted by the vast majority of the Muslim nation, past and present. They have accepted that with complete acceptance. Anyone who comes with something different is not following the majority of the Muslim nation. They're not following. I'm not saying they're not Muslim. I'm not saying they can't be right in some things. I'm saying they're not following the way of the majority of the nation of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And every one of those methodologies have an unbroken chain back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So let me go back to the story. I hope y'all follow me. And you need to learn this when you start learning knowledge. So I'm going to share this point with you real quick. The sheikh, when you're sitting with a sheikh, when you're sitting with a teacher, even if you're learning a book, that sheikh, whenever he finds an important point that he needs to emphasize, he may stop in the book and go on a whole nother subject, talking about issues, talking about different cases, and he may explain them, and then you have the obligation of marking where the sheikh stopped in the subject he's talking about, where he branched off, and when he comes back. You got to learn to listen and follow. So you can't do this and do something else. It's not going to work, because I'm going to take you all over the place. But you got to be able to put everything in its proper context. That's why you got to take notes. If you want to preserve knowledge, you got to take good notes. And when I was first learning, my teachers wouldn't allow us to have books. I told you that. We had to write everything by hand. Write. We had to do it. And that way, we're able to follow no matter where he go, because we're used to writing. We're used to recording, right? And then memorizing, so it made it even easier. Anyway, so I'm in this masjid, and the persons in the masjid were all of the Wahhabi, which they call Salafi background. Now, I want you to understand me. I don't use the term Salafi. I don't use it. I say Wahhabi. So even though they changed the name to Salafi, I'm not going to use a misnomer so you get confused. We can't do that. So when I say Wahhabi, that's what I'm talking about. That is the original name of that group. Now, when that name Wahhabi in the Islamic world became famous as a misguided faction among the Muslims, they changed the name to Salafi. That's real. That's history. That's not Imam Amin said it. That's true. If you want to go to the oldest, among the oldest, if not the oldest, continuous institution in the Islamic world, Al-Azhar al-Sharif. Al-Azhar al-Sharif, Al-Azhar University, the ulama of Azhar, the scholars of Azhar, who've been around for 1,100 years. When the movement of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab came about, from that time in the 18th century, the end of the 18th century, when he came about and his movement spread around the world, the scholars of Azhar, they called them Wahhabiyah. The scholars of Sham, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Palestine, they called them Al-Wahhabiyah. The scholars of Yemen, Hadramaut, and all of those areas, all the Haba'ib, all of those people who we love today, and they called them Wahhabiyah. Go study, and that's why I said study. We don't got to argue. We don't got to debate. It ain't none of our faults. We ain't make none of this stuff up. The black man is a victim. We didn't start it. We inherited your nonsense. So don't blame us when we say your nonsense is nonsense. We are only victims, and we getting your knee off our necks. And the way to get your knee off our neck is to start learning history and speaking the truth. You're no longer going to have your knee on our neck. They don't just apply to George Floyd. It applies in Islam to all black Muslims. Get that knee off our neck. And the way the knee is, it's mental, intellectual, false education. We want it off our necks, period. Even if we got some of us who don't realize that those people got their knee on your neck, we're going to wake you up. When his movement started, I gave you all in the Maghreb, Morocco, Mauritania, Algeria, all of the North Africa, West Africa. Go look at Uthman Dan Fodio and Mali and Senegal and Ghana and Nigeria. Study the books of that time all around the Muslim world, in India, in Afghanistan, in Bangladesh. Study during the end of the 18th century, the beginning of the 19th century. Study the ulama all around the world. They all called him Wahhabi. They all called him Wahhabiyah. Go to Mecca and Medina in the time of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. The scholars, the ulama, the muhaddithun, the mufassirun, the fuqaha, the usuliyun, all of them in Mecca and Medina, they called them the Wahhabiyah. This is real. This is history. So don't blame Imam Amin because he said Wahhabi. The ulama of Islam said Wahhabi. That's where I got it from. I didn't know nothing about Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab till I learned with scholars around the world. That's where I learned about Wahhabiyah and Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. And they wasn't telling me Salafi until later. They said, oh, this is the same people. That's real. That's real. So don't blame me. You want to get mad at the scholars of Islam for conveying the religion to us. That's it. All right. Now, so it was a Wahhabi masjid, which they call Salafi, right? So I went to it. They invited me. I went. One guy He was teaching the people. He was teaching one book by Hafiz Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani in the science of hadith. He had a book, Nukbat al-Fikr, is a book in the science of hadith written by Al-Hafiz Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. And he had another book, I forget the name of the book, but it was written by another famous scholar, and he had a Wahhabi explanation of the book. And he was teaching them and telling them, we're on the way of the Salaf and this, that. And he had a book of An-Nawawi too, Imam An-Nawawi. So I sat and I listened, and I said, let me ask you a question. Why don't you tell the people about the biography and the methodology of the original authors of those books? Why don't you tell the people about the Aqidah of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, the fiqh of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, the tasawwuf of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, the Aqidah of Imam al-Nawawi, the Aqidah, the fiqh of Imam al-Nawawi, the tasawwuf of Imam al-Nawawi? Why are you hiding that? And Nawawi and Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, who were the two greatest scholars of hadith in the latter generation of the Muslims, were both Ash'ari. And Nawawi and Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani were both Shafi'i. And Nawawi and Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani both practiced tasawwuf and followed the spiritual path. Why are you hiding that? And acting as if you're relating from them and knowing right and well that they were not on what you're talking about. Imam al-Nawawi or Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani didn't talk about this belief you're talking about. They followed the madhab. They weren't talking about don't follow a madhab. They considered that as insane. And they were all people of tasawwuf. They all practiced Sufism. Why are you not telling the people that? Why are you trying to get credit by something you consider innovation and even disbelief? Because the way they practice Islam, you saying is shirk. You're saying it's shirk. It is associating partners with Allah. You consider them idol worshippers. Why are you not telling the people the truth? Why are you not telling the people the truth? Why are you hiding behind their scholarship and fabricating truth about them? I told the person that, and he was silent. And you know, instead of just saying, you're right, we're wrong, he went silent and rejected and just got away from me. That's arrogance. That's the height of arrogance. That's arrogance. That's not humbleness. That's not scholarship. That's arrogance. I had another discussion with a leading Wahhabi, Salafi guy. I had African American. I'm talking about black people. I ain't talking about nobody else. Because listen, we're not going to have a conversation with someone who obviously don't care about us. That's wasting time. We need to talk to our people and educate our people and expose our people to some realities. Then maybe after we get that job done, which we probably not going to be alive to finish it, once we get that job, then we'll have a discussion with you. Right now, we need to clean our own house. I'm not worrying about what's going on in your house. That's your problem. You handle that. I got to worry about what's going on in my house. That's what I'm concerned about. So I talked to this person, and he's quoting, and he quoted a hadith. And this is so ugly. The guy got a library that he got from Saudi Arabia when he was studying under them that fills his whole basement. We're having a discussion and people were there, so those who were there know what I'm talking about. And he's quoting, telling me about his Wahhabi belief that Allah, which is so ugly, he said Allah is a person, wal-iyadhu billah. And he tried to quote a hadith from al-Bukhari as an evidence for it. But these are the people of hadith. He quoted a chapter heading in Al-Bukhari. Bab La Shakhsa Aghyaru min Allah. The title, no, if you want to use just a literal translation, no person is more jealous than Allah. And the word shakhs is used there, right? And I said to him, he said, and then he gave Allah attribute based on that. He said, Allah has the attribute of ash-shakhsiyya, wal-iyadhu billah, meaning personage. I said, what did you just say? He said, I have a proof from the book of Allah, from the sunnah of the messenger of Allah, that Allah, his attributes are literal and he's attributed with a shakhsiyya. I said, by consensus of Islamic scholars, that is kufr. That's disbelief, what you just said. He's defending that nonsense. And I explained to him, I said, do you realize that when Bukhari, rahimahullah, related that hadith with an unbroken chain, he didn't use the word shaks, he used the word ahad. No one, la ahada aghyaru min Allah. He used that narration, and he only used that to let you know that he was aware that it was narrated and that it is not permissible to say about Allah. And if you read the commentaries, all of the scholars who commentated on the hadith told you that by consensus is not permissible to say about Allah. I said, you got the books down in your library. You have Fathul Bari. You have the commentary of Al-Bukhari in your library. Let's go down and look up the book. Let's open the book. You got it. No, I don't got time for that. You got time to blaspheme in Allah, but you don't have time to correct yourself. When the books are available right downstairs, it ain't like we got to go nowhere and travel. Go downstairs, grab volume number 13, Kitabul Tawheed, Sahih Bukhari, open it up, look for that section, and then look at the explanation. It take us 5 minutes. You speak Arabic, you the Sheikh of Arabia, it should be easy. Why are you running from a conversation that's clear? Not only clear, by consensus. Ijma on the issue. No khilaf. No difference of opinion. You know, to this day, that person ain't called me and said you right. That's sad. But you leading people. You the sheikh. You the big man. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Like sad. But this is being pushed on us. It ain't no way you read the books of the scholars and come away with this stuff. You know they say you can't make this up. Like, it's just unbelievable. So when I use that term for a reason. So you can distinguish between Ahl Sunnah and people who have deviated from Ahl Sunnah. That's real. Because if we don't fix that issue, it ain't no way we're going to get freedom in Islam. Because we're going to be living another false version of Islam. And I know I went over many things and time just goes so fast, we don't even have enough time to even get started on what I want to talk about. But let's do one thing, because I got a few minutes. I'm really over time. But I want to help you from what we did yesterday, right? So we're going to get the 20 hadith books for us. So we all have 20, because I'm going to need you to know this stuff as we go through it, right? So quickly, we're going to count 20 important hadith books. This is not an exhaustive list because 20 is way more than 20 hadith books. But I want you to at least start getting more information, because we're going to be using these books. We're going to be quoting. We're going to be referencing them when we're talking. So I need to, step by step, get us familiar with stuff. So the main 6 books, Al-Kutub al-Sitta, those 6 books, all of us should know about. Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, These are the two Sahihain, Al-Bukhari and Muslim. Sahih Al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. Sunan Abi Dawood, Sunan At-Tirmidhi, Sunan Ibn Majah, Sunan An-Nasa'i. So these are called Al-Kutub As-Sitta, right? The 6 books. So that's 6 books. Everyone should know. Most of the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam are found in these books. Rarely are you going to find a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that is not mentioned in meaning or exactly in these books, except very few with different chains of narration. So if you understand those 6 books, you got most of the hadith of the Prophet. The only thing you're missing is different riwayat, different turuq, different narration, different chains. That's all you will really be missing, except a few hadith. So those 6 books, right? Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Sunan Abi Dawood, Sunan At-Tirmidhi, Sunan Ibn Majah, Sunan An-Nasa'i. That's 6, right? Then you have Musnad al-Imam Ahmad, the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, which is among the largest collections of hadith. The Musnad of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, right? You have also the Muwatta of Imam Malik, the Muwatta of Imam Malik, which is among the oldest books of hadith, even before Imam al-Bukhari, and even before the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. So that's 8, right? Then you have books of that the author intended to mention Sahih Hadith. And they are 3 main books. Sahih Ibn Hibban, Sahih Ibn Hibban, Sahih Ibn Khuzaymah, and Al-Mustadrak ala Sahihain by Al-Hakim, right? So that's 3 more. So that makes 11, right? Everybody follow me? You're going to have to write all this stuff down, or maybe tomorrow I'll get one of our people to put it in a chart and we'll give it to you and share it to you. If I type it, forget about it. We'll be here all day. All right? So y'all got them? No. We're going to put it so where it's spelled right. I'll try to get that to you tomorrow. But just write as best as you can. So that's 11, right? We're up to 11? Yes. All right. And in the Sunan, there are other ones that are called Sunan. Sunan ad-Darimi and Sunan ad-Daraqutni. Sunan ad-Darimi and Sunan ad-Daraqutni. So that makes us at, what's that, 13? 13. Then you're talking about, also among the Sunan, is 2 main books by Al-Bayhaqi, but he has 3. Al-Bayhaqi, which are very important books, especially to fiqh. You have the Sunan Al-Kubra of Al-Bayhaqi, which was mentioned yesterday, Sunan Al-Sugra lil-Bayhaqi, and Ma'rifat al-Sunan wal-Athar. These are 3 books by Al-Bayhaqi, so that puts us to where 16, 17, somewhere around here. Then you can add to that, no, that puts us at 18, subhanAllah, somewhere around there, 16, 17. Then you can add to that Ma'ajim of At-Tabarani, which are 3. Al-Mu'jam al-Kabir, Al-Mu'jam al-Awsat, and Al-Mu'jam al-Saghir. Right? So that's 3 major books. All these are major books of hadith. And I think with that, we're around 20, right? Or should I name more? Did anyone count the numbers I mentioned? I can add if necessary, but I think with those books, we got around 20 hadith books, right? Anyone follow me or count? All right, 19. Now you said 21. All right, somebody ain't counting right. 19, 21. All right, 21. Al-Allama, Al-Hujja, Al-Hafiz. He said 21. Hey, you got ulama looking, so I don't know. I'm going to take the... Yeah, I'm just having fun. Okay, let's just add another one since we have some discrepancy. So, that was mentioned yesterday, the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shayba, because someone mentioned it, so we just add it just to make another book. Musannaf Ibn Abi Shayba, so we make 20. And there are way more than that, but these are main books that you should know about. And while we're discussing things, I promise you, during these classes, I'm going to show evidences from all those books for important points that we need to know. And for us, for every single of those books, we have an unbroken chain from our teachers back to those books. For every single one of them. Every single one of those books, from my teachers, we have studied a hadith in those books. Some of them, we studied them completely from cover to cover, and others, we took different ahadith that were explained by our sheikhs, and all of them, we relate with an unbroken chain from more than one teacher. From myself to my teacher, to his teacher, to his teacher, with an unbroken chain. And all of those chains were people who were Ash'ari, Maturidi, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, Hanbali, Sufi, all of the chains. And not one chain to any of those books will you find that is free of Sufis, that is free of Ash'aris, that is free of Maturidis, that is free of Hanafis or Malikis or Shafis or Hanbali. In other words, there is no way to have an unbroken, continuous chain back to the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, except that you learn from Ash'aris, Maturidis, Shafis, Hanafis, Malikis, Shafis, Hanbalis, and Sufis. Anyone who tells you different is a liar, and bring your proof. This is something I know for a fact, no doubt, 1,000, 1,000,000%, I'm certain that you cannot have an unbroken chain back to the Prophet except that you go through the route of these people. No doubt about it. And if anyone around the world can come up with a chain of narration that says that that is not true, and can say we have a chain of narration of Wahhabi, from Wahhabi, from Wahhabi, from Salafi to Salafi to Salafi, back to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, bring your proof. Bring your proof. Just bring one chain of narration. I'm not talking about 10, one. When we got hundreds of thousands of chains like that, you just bring one. One chain in any Islamic science that does not have a connection from us to the Prophet, that doesn't have a Sufi in it. Everybody in this chain, nobody was a Sufi. Bring one, just one. Bring one chain that everybody in the chain, nobody was Ash'ari. Nobody followed the madhab. Bring one chain. And everyone talking about authentic, something got to be sahih. There is no such thing as a sahih hadith, a sahih narration that is broken. If the chain is broken, it's not sahih. Period. And your whole connection to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is broken. That's a fact. So for that, I'll stop there. I didn't give you that test for nothing. We had that test. Now you got the hadith books, and inshallah, you memorize them, you preserve them, and inshallah, we will be victorious. Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. And when, trust me, when the African American community, when the Black Americans get this deen right, watch out, world, we coming. We had the ability to make white supremacy back up. Watch what we do when we learn Islam. We're going to make the oppressors of the world back up. Watch out. We coming. And we're only going to ignite the fire, because who's coming behind us? The youth, our future generations. They're going to be lions. They're not going to be cowards. They're going to be lions. So if you think we rough, wait till you see what's coming. Wait till you see the lions that's coming from us. Wait till you see the lions that's coming from us. And when the lion roams the jungle, they're in charge. Watch out what's coming. Barakallahu fikum. Tonight is a very special night. Join us here on Masjid Muhammad of Atlantic City page. We're going to have the Black Imams Roundtable, and it's the subject matter is going to be establishing sacred traditional knowledge in the Black community. Our guests will be our beloved colleague and fellow Imam, Imam Sulaiman Hamid from Atlanta Masjid of Islam, who was one of those students that our Honorable Imam Mufti Muhammad Rahimahullah sent over to Syria to learn. And he traveled to Syria, and he travels the Islamic world now. And I put a plug in for his business so y'all get some money and support Black business. He has Hajj Pros, which he does Umrah and Hajj every year. A Black man leading our people to Mecca and Medina every year, multiple times. We need to support that. All of us, if we making Umrah or Hajj, we not making Umrah or Hajj, except we going with Hajj Pros. We going to strengthen our Black businesses. So everybody's having these packages and Black people are going to them and giving them money. No, give your money to Hajj Pros, because Hajj Pros going to put that money back in your Black community. And if others want to support, either you support the Black community, we're going to put you out of business, or you won't get no money from us. Either you come help or you get none of our money. You're not going to get our money and take it in the suburbs and leave us to struggle. From now on, all Black Muslims support Hajj Pros. That's where we're going. If you want some of our money, come help. Our new place where we make Hajj, where we make Umrah, is Hajj Pros, ran by Imam Sulaiman Hamid from the Atlanta Masjid of Islam. If we making Hajj, if we making Umrah, that's who we going with. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to start, just like we said, support Black business outside in the regular community. We're going to support Black businesses in Islam. You talking about we paying these high prices, 10,000, 4,000, 3,000 for Hajj, way overpriced, and none of that money's coming back to our community. Not to the masjid, not to the inner city, not even feeding the poor. From now on, when we do it, we support Black business. Please, please spread that name. Hajj Pros, Hajj Pros, hashtag Hajj Pros. Let me put it. Hold on. Uh-oh. Let me get it. I'm sorry, I'm slow. I told y'all that. Spread this as well, all over. We getting ready. We going to make a movement. Is that right? Yes. Spread that. Everybody spread it. Hashtag Hajj Pros. Make sure every Black person gets that message. Hajj Pros. We support Black businesses. We're going to make a revolution in Islam. I need your help. It's going to be fashionable to support Black businesses. We're not going to have, no one's escaping Black Lives Matters. You're going to Black Lives Matters, Black Muslim Matters. You're going to learn today. We're going to do our job. And I'm counting on every single one of you. Every time you make a post, put Black Muslims Matters, hashtag. Hajj Pros, hashtag. And we're going to discover other businesses, and we're going to start promoting Black businesses that are working in the community. We're going to push, push, push. But right now, I want Hajj Pros to be the household name for Black Muslims. That's how we're doing it. And others, if you want some of my money, you're going to come see us, and you're going to sit down and you're going to negotiate how to help our people, or you get nothing, period. No more begging. No more coming to them saying, please. You will help, or we will overthrow you, period. Barakallahu fikum wa jazakumullahu khaira. Tonight, 9:30, join us for the Black Imams Roundtable. Imam Suleiman will be there. He will give you more details about Hajj Pros, for Umrah, for whatever we do, and he's going to help. We're going to take some of that money, and we're going to go around the country, and we're going to build Black Masjid, strengthen Black communities, feed our inner cities. We're going to take some of that money, and we're going to put it back into our community. All them thousands of dollars that's going to others, no more. All of it goes back to the Black community. Strengthen Black communities. Barakallahu fikum. We're going to make a revolution. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.